Record 50, Side 1, Lesson number 50, the 50th lesson, Practical section, This modern age and languages.
I should like to go abroad this year, but it's very inconvenient not knowing a foreign language.
If you'd been born 100 years ago, there would have been time to learn on the way.
Yes, that's true, but I can't go to the French Riviera, Spain or Italy on a donkey now. I have only a few weeks' holiday. I would be lucky to reach Dover before I had to turn back.
Didn't you study languages at school, Peter? I know I did French and a little German. Just a little, but it helps.
Languages, of course, are not merely useful at holiday time. Any self-respecting export business must have at least one linguist available to meet possible contingencies.
We have two in our office, one a specialist in French, German and Spanish, the other in Italian and Russian. It's surprising how much work they have to do, not simply with correspondence. Today, people drop in from the other sides of the world just to make inquiries and visit the works.
That's it, Peter. In this modern age, travel is so fast and everything so much quicker that the importance of knowing foreign languages is greater than ever it was in the past.
Yes, it's difficult, if not altogether impossible, to separate the two things. Progress brings its own requirements with it.
But everybody speaks English abroad, at least everybody that matters. It's not so terribly necessary for an Englishman to know other people's languages, I think.
That's just what people in other countries think of the English, Peter. Too lazy to be bothered. It isn't quite true today, but it is far from being completely wrong. Too many of us go abroad without knowing a word of the language spoken in the country we intend to visit.
It's another way of making the world even smaller. By speaking to foreigners, one gets to know them and understand them. No one can afford to get along on other people's opinions all the time. First-hand information is a wonderful guide both in social as well as business relationships.
All this has come about through high-speed travel, fast and efficient production in large quantities of goods which require foreign markets as well as the home market to absorb them completely. International trade has developed through the needs of all countries to exchange goods and services on a scale never dreamt of before the Industrial Revolution.
Coming back to languages again, I think John had the right idea when he said that one gets to know people much better when one can speak their language even a little. After all, certain things require explanation even in the most casual meeting, and when this can be done in his own language, the foreigner will generally be very pleased to do all he can to help.
I think we do the same when we meet a foreigner in this country who can speak English. If he's in trouble, he can tell us, and then we may explain what he must do, and usually we help him as much as we can.
Yes, I think most of us do, but life moves so fast nowadays, there seldom seems to be time for anything but work.
Now you're exaggerating, John. You know very well that if you really wanted, you too could brush up your French and even tackle Italian or Spanish or German.
What are you suggesting, Mary? That your husband give up his pleasures in order to study foreign languages?
I shall study too, for I think we might make use of the knowledge we gain in added pleasure from holidays, and also less embarrassment when he has visits from foreign gentlemen wishing to discuss business.
You could entertain the ladies, Mary. The idea is sound. and I agree that it would serve us well when in our turn we go abroad to discuss business.
I thoroughly approve too. Then I shan't need an interpreter when I go abroad. Fly here, fly there, with Mrs. Black, my private secretary. You wouldn't mind, John, would you?
You're making a big mistake, Peter. John would mind, and so would I. You must study a foreign language too, whether from a purely cultural motive or simply to serve you as a staff in your foreign business dealings is not important, but study you must.
Don't let's overdo this. There is, after all, in this age of electronic machinery and automation, an ever-widening knowledge and interest in English today. It's almost impossible to go abroad without finding people who speak our language. It is part of a company's foreign trade program to have correspondents and interpreters on its staff.
Yes, that's very true. It's better if they speak English too, I think.
You do as you please, Peter, but John isn't going to convince me that it's all the same whether one knows a foreign language or not today. That's not true. To be able to speak at least one foreign language is something which everyone should aim to do, and we're going to make the effort.
That's right, Peter. We are going to make the effort, so you might as well make up your mind to do likewise. Open your eyes, man. Can't you see the need?
Yes, John, I see the need, but I'm not married, so it doesn't seem quite so pressing as in your case, does it, Mary?
Don't you start insinuating that I have a hen-pecked husband, Peter, or you shan't have any supper this evening. I'm going to make it now, so decide which language you prefer, and we can start almost at once.
Side 2, Grammatical section. Verb constructions, fourth part. Continuing the series of lessons illustrating the formation, use, and meaning of verb constructions and their fundamental importance for the sentence as a whole, further forms are given in this lesson, the last in the course dealing with this particular aspect of the English language. The importance of all these verb constructions cannot be too strongly stressed, and the student is urged to give particular care to the lessons dealing with this particular point of syntax. Let us look at two constructions dealing with direct and indirect objects. When the indirect is longer than the direct object, then it usually follows the latter. This is also the case when the indirect object is stressed. However, when the indirect object is short or the direct object is stressed, it is usual to place the indirect object first. Some examples of this will make this quite clear. A. Subject plus verb plus noun or pronoun plus preposition plus noun or pronoun. John took the dog to the football field. It brought no luck to its owner. They told the story to everyone they met. Mary read the novel to her friend while the latter was seriously ill. She ordered a new car for her son. They spend a great deal of money on trifles. Some of the verbs used in this construction are, with the preposition to, bring, deny, give, lend, offer, owe, pass, permit, promise, read, refuse, sell, send, show, teach, tell, write. With the preposition for, buy, make, order, choose, leave, cook, bring, fetch, get, play, write. With various prepositions, congratulate on, spend on, prevent from, depend on, remind about, excuse for, compare with, compare to, protect from, keep for. B. Subject plus verb plus indirect object plus direct object. He gave me the book. But he gave the book to me, not to you. Didn't they lend you any money? Won't you tell me the reason? They never give the children any sweets. Are you leaving us those books? I'm going to choose him the best money can buy. She ought to get herself a new dress. The verbs taking the construction with the preposition to in A are the same as those using the same preposition in B. Those with for are also the same as those given in A. The following is the first construction using intransitive verbs: subject plus verb plus indirect object plus adverb or adverbial phrase. There are a great many verbs which are used in this construction, among them all the verbs of movement. Very few verbs take the indirect object: to cost, to last, and to take. Here are some examples. The temperature has risen recently. He is going to stay the weekend with his friends. The refugees have come hundreds of miles on foot. My experiences in the last war will last me a lifetime. The ship is due to sail in the morning. The room measured 10 feet by 7. Moving on now to a construction which was mentioned in the first of these lessons, on verb forms, we have the verb which is quite intransitive. It needs nothing to complete its meaning. Such verbs, to give a few examples, are eat, sleep, swim, awake, remain, though you will recognize that eat may also be used transitively. Men sleep, fish swim, I awoke, she is breathing. The reason for bringing this construction to your notice once again is principally to draw your attention to the very common use of preparatory there, when the verb is to be. Some examples will illustrate this quite clearly. The importance of keeping this form before you at all times, until you are proficient in its use, cannot be too strongly emphasized. It is impossible to say, as a complete sentence, a lot of work is to do. Instead, the English say, there is a lot of work to do. There were many people. There was a book on that table this afternoon. There's my book. There in this sentence is an adverb of place. Sometimes there's no takes a gerund to express impossibility. There's no denying the truth of his statement. There's no getting out of the responsibility. There's no getting away from the fact that he's much cleverer than you. There's no turning back now that we have come so far. If the sentence has an infinitive phrase as subject, then preparatory it is used, as was explained in a previous lesson. Here is an example or two to refresh your memory. It seems that he was wrong. It appears to be true. It happened he was not at home. Does it matter that they are not coming? The verb to be gives many simple constructions, of which some examples are given below to help you identify and make use of them. That book is mine. Seeing is believing. The trouble is that we haven't time for that. What is your name? Who are they? School is over. The car is for hire. The boy is still to arrive. To know is to understand. It is a shame that they couldn't come. It's a wonder they weren't all killed. Study of all these verb constructions is important, and again you are urged to give the subject your careful attention, for without correct verb constructions there can be no correct sentences.